Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be reading Enchanted Forest of Horror, a short story by Emileen Church. So this is just a single book, very short story. So yeah, if you do like the video, please drop a like and please subscribe if you can, and leave a comment for what you would like to see next, and I'll make sure to get back to those as soon as possible. Now, if you want, on to the video. Enchanted Forest of Horror. I straightened my shoulders and took a slow breath, pushing aside the anxiety that clutched in my stomach. A cabin sat at the end of a long, narrow driveway. I stared at it for a moment, and then I glanced back at my car, its tires buried in mud up to the hubcaps. You can do this, Nicole, I thought, and started walking. The miry driveway cut through a cluster of old and gangly maple trees, their gnarled, leafless branches clogged at the dusky sky. The wind howled past me, filling my nose with a pungent odor of decaying wood. I could hardly believe I had let my girlfriends convince me to join them for the weekend at the Bear Creek Lodge. A sight to the Bradley Massacre. 8 years ago, some crazy guy named Bradley had gunned down 6 hikers in the woods near the lodge before a forest ranger shot and killed him. Though nothing unusual has happened since then, the place has become a playground for urban legends. Rumors abound that the ghosts of the dead hikers inhabit the lodge, and that the murderous spirit returns to the forest every year in search of the ranger who stopped his killing spree, but supposedly, he has never been able to find him. My girlfriends had thought it would be fun to stay at the lodge on the anniversary of the massacre, sharing ghost stories and trying to give each other nightmares. Now, here I was, stranded and alone in a legendly accursed forest. Just my luck. I approached the cabin hesitantly. I knew someone was home. Smoke billowed from the chimney with a pale light filtered through the curtains at the front window. But I felt awkward asking a complete stranger for help. And how did I know he wasn't some axe-wielding murderer who preyed on single young women like me? I stifled a chuckle. Come on, I shitted myself. This isn't a horror movie. Pushing away my uneasiness, I stepped up to the front door and knocked. The door creaked open, and a tall, stocky man with graying brown hair stood on the threshold. He looked familiar to me, but I couldn't place where I'd seen him before. His eyes shifted from my face to the air around me, and I snuck a curious glance over my shoulder just to make sure no one was there. "May I help you?" he asked amiably. "I'm hoping so," I replied, trying my best to sound sweet and helpless. "I'm supposed to be meeting my friends at the Bear Creek Lodge up the road, and my car got stuck in the mud near your driveway. Do you have a phone I can use? I'll have my friends come pick me up." I held out the cell phone in my hands and wrinkled my nose in mock disgust. No service here. He offered me a friendly smile. "Sure, no problem," he said. "Come on in." He opened the door wide, and I noticed a green forest ranger jacket and hat hanging on the coat rack behind him. I breathed a silent sigh of relief. I had come to the right place. "So, you work for the Forest Service?" I asked, gesturing toward the jacket. "I do," he said. "My name is Russell." "Russell!" I exclaimed, suddenly remembering who he was. "You are the forest ranger who stopped the Bradley Massacre. Your picture was in all the papers. You're a hero." Russell waved away the compliment. "I was only doing my job." He turned away from me and led me into his living room. I got the impression he didn't want to talk about it. "Everyone's in there," he said. "I'm glad you were home. There aren't many houses in these woods, and it's a long walk to the lodge." "You're fortunate, actually. I usually visit my sister this time of year. I don't like being around here on the anniversary of, well, too many memories." Russell shrugged. My sister is staying with her daughter this month, so here I am. He pointed to a small table near his couch. The phone's right there. Thank you, I said. Oh, and my name is Nicole, I added, suddenly remembering my manners. Pleased to meet you. He motioned to the air next to me. And who is this? Who is... what? I glanced around the empty room. What are you talking about? Was he joking? I searched his face, but I found no humor in his eyes. Russell looked about as confused as I felt. You don't know this person? He asked. What person? I didn't come here with anyone. I was instantly annoyed. If this was his idea of a sick joke, I wasn't finding it very funny. This man slipped in behind you when I let you in. Russell's voice trailed off. He appeared to be watching something that I couldn't see, and his frightened expression sent an icy chill down my spine. What was going on here? You see someone? I asked incredulously, looking around again. The hair on the back of my neck tingled like so many spiders scuttling across my skin. Russell took a few steps backwards. Bradley? He said, speaking into the empty air. No, it can't be. His face was ashen, as if completely drained of blood. This is impossible. How can you... Russell shrieked, and his hand jerked upward, his fingers twisting and bending grotesquely. He lurched sideways, and then his torso thrust forward as if struck from behind by an invisible source. Blood trickled from the corners of his mouth. He looked at me with desperate, terror-filled eyes. Run, he croaked. I turned and fled through the door, cringing when I heard Russell's body fall to the floor of the cabin. A cold breeze, tainted and foul, chased me outside and tugged at my hair. Long, bony fingers scraped down my shoulder and tore at the hem of my jacket. I had barely reached the driveway when something wrapped around my ankle, and I fell, flailing and kicking, to the ground. I groped around in the muddy soil looking for something, anything, that could be used as a weapon. My fingers bumped against a broken tree limb. I grabbed it and jumped up, swinging the branch in a wide arc. Nothing. I swung it again, but as I did, the branch was ripped from my hand and flung to the ground. Vulnerable, I spun around and took off in a panic, through the pallid moonlight. I could just make out the graveled road up ahead. Suddenly, wispy arms coiled around me like a snake and snapped me back, nearly pulling me off my feet. I took a painful, grasping breath. Then I was launched forward, landing in the gravel on my hands and knees. The jagged rocks tore through my pants and left my hands sticky with blood as I scrambled to my feet. A hollow, fiendish cackle echoed through the trees, filling my head with madness and shaking me to my very core. The rumbling of an approaching engine brought me back to my senses. Just down the road, I could see headlights bobbing in the distance. I ran toward the vehicle, my arms waving frantically and tears streaming down my face. As the truck slowed, a familiar voice called out to me. "Nicole! Is that you?" It was Amber, one of the gals that were planning to join us at the lodge. "What's the matter? Where's your car?" I threw open the passenger door and jumped in the truck. "Turn around," I said urgently. Amber stared at me with large, frightened eyes. "What?" "Just turn around," I screamed. "Now!" "Okay," she mumbled, pulling the truck into a tight turn. I watched through the back window as the maple trees surrounding the cabin faded from sight, and relief slowly replaced the terror that had consumed me. My heart didn't stop pounding until we were back on the main highway, but even then, I wondered how long it would be before the memory of that hideous, cackling laugh would stop tormenting me.